I never allowed anyone to open the office safe. Not my business partner, not my accountant, not even my own lawyer. For 23 years, that steel door stayed locked, and I intended to keep it that way. But when my business partner hired a private investigator to dig into my past, I knew exactly what she was really after. So I did something I'd been planning for months. I changed the combination one last time. My name is Robert Mitchell, and I built Mitchell and Crawford Technologies from nothing. Started in a garage back in 1999. Just me and a dream to revolutionize inventory management software. By 2005, we had our first major client. By 2010, we'd gone public. By 2015, Victoria Crawford had bought her way into a 50-50 partnership with a check for $12 million. That safe had been in my office since day one. A Browning Silver Series, installed flush into the wall behind a painting of the San Francisco Bay. Victoria asked about it exactly 3 times in the first year. I told her the same thing each time. Personal documents. Nothing related to the business. She seemed to accept that. The office itself was on the 3rd floor of our building in Palo Alto. Open floor plan for the development team, glass-walled conference rooms, and 2 private offices at the far end. Mine faced west. Hers faced east. We each had our spaces, our territories. That's how it worked for the first few years. Victoria was sharp. I'll give her that. Stanford MBA, previously VP at Oracle, connections throughout Silicon Valley. She brought legitimacy to our operation, opened doors I couldn't have opened alone. Our revenue tripled in her first 18 months. The board loved her. Clients loved her. Even I thought we made a decent team. The first red flag appeared in month 19. I came in early one Tuesday, around 6:30, the way I always did. The cleaning crew had just left. I made coffee in the break room, checked my emails, then walked toward my office. The door was open. I always locked it. Always. Victoria was inside, standing in front of the painting, her fingers on the frame's edge. "Oh, Robert," she turned, smiled that perfect smile. "Sorry, I was just admiring this. The detail is remarkable. Is it an original?" "Print," I said. "What are you doing in here?" "I left my notes from yesterday's meeting on your desk. Didn't want to wait until you arrived to grab them." She gestured at a manila folder on my desk, then walked past me. "See you at 9 for the investor call?" The folder had been there. I checked. But something felt wrong about the whole interaction. The way she'd been standing. The way her hand had been positioned. I examined the painting. Nothing seemed disturbed. I checked the safe's dial through the gap in the frame. Still locked, combination untouched. I let it go. Told myself I was being paranoid. The second red flag came 3 months later. We were negotiating a potential acquisition. A smaller firm out of Austin that had developed complementary technology. The deal was worth $43 million. Victoria pushed hard for it. Too hard. During one board meeting, she spent 40 minutes arguing why we needed to move fast, why waiting would let competitors swoop in, why this was our moment. I said we should do more due diligence. She shot me a look I'd never seen before. Cold, calculating. After the meeting, our CFO, Marcus Webb, pulled me aside. "You notice Victoria's been meeting with the Austin CEO privately," he said. "Twice. Once for dinner in San Jose, once for drinks in San Francisco. Maybe she's building rapport," I said. "Maybe." Marcus didn't sound convinced. "Or maybe there's something else going on." I'd watched that deal carefully, Robert. I started watching. Dug into the Austin company's financials myself, not just trusting Victoria's summaries. Found discrepancies. Minor ones, but they were there. Revenue projections that seemed optimistic. Customer retention numbers that didn't quite match the raw data. I confronted Victoria in her office. "These numbers," I said, sliding the report across her desk. "They don't add up." She barely glanced at them. "Their accounting team uses different metrics." I verified everything. "With who?" "Their CFO." "Robert, are you questioning my judgment?" "I'm questioning these numbers." She stood up, walked to her window, looked out at the parking lot below. "You know what I think? I think you're having trouble letting go. We're not a garage startup anymore. We're a real company. And real companies make bold moves. If you can't handle that, Maybe it's time we discussed restructuring our partnership. The threat hung in the air. She was testing boundaries, seeing how far she could push. I killed the Austin deal. The board backed me, barely. Victoria didn't speak to me for 2 weeks, except when absolutely necessary. The third red flag appeared 6 months after that, and this one scared me. I received an email from our bank, routine notification, about an authorized user being added to one of our corporate accounts. I hadn't authorized anyone. I called immediately. "Mr. Mitchell," the bank manager said, "Miss Crawford submitted the paperwork last week. She has co-signing authority on your account, same as you have on hers. It's standard for 50-50 partners. I never agreed to that." Silence. "Sir, we have your signature on the authorization form." "Impossible. Send me a copy." They did. The signature looked like mine, close enough that the bank hadn't questioned it. But I knew my own signature, knew the way I looped the R in Robert, the way I crossed the ent in Mitchell. This wasn't mine. I had a forensic document examiner look at it. His verdict: skilled forgery, probably traced from a real signature, then practiced and reproduced. I confronted Victoria again, this time with Marcus present as witness. "That's insane," she said. "Why would I forge your signature? I have access to plenty of company funds already." "Then explain how your name got added to my account." Clerical error. The bank screwed up. "Robert, you're getting paranoid in your old age." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe it's time to think about succession planning. You're what, 63? 64? When's the last time you took a real vacation?" I was 64, and I hadn't taken a vacation in 7 years. But I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't paranoid. I called my lawyer that night. We started documenting everything. Every interaction with Victoria, every questionable decision, every red flag. I also did something else. I hired my own investigator, a former FBI agent named Helen Cross. Her job was simple: find out what Victoria Crawford was really after. Helen's first report came back 3 weeks later. Victoria had been in contact with 2 of our competitors, including one in Germany. The nature of the conversations wasn't clear, but they'd happened, multiple times. Her second report was worse. Victoria had been asking questions about me, personal questions, about my late wife, Catherine, about when she died, about what I'd been doing in the months after. Catherine had died 8 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to the end. The worst 6 months of my life. I'd worked through most of it, trying to distract myself, trying to feel useful when I felt completely helpless. The safe had been my sanctuary during that time. Still was. Victoria had no business asking about Catherine. None. The fourth red flag came in the form of a midnight email from our head of IT security. "Robert, we've detected unusual access patterns in our system. Someone's been trying to access encrypted files, specifically old financial records and founder documents. The attempts are coming from inside our network. I've traced them to an executive workstation, but I need authorization before I can identify which one." I gave authorization. The workstation was Victoria's. She'd been trying to access our original founding documents, the ones that outlined the company structure before her investment, the ones that detailed intellectual property ownership and rights. She'd failed because those files were encrypted with a key only I possessed. But she'd tried, repeatedly. I called an emergency board meeting, presented the evidence, the bank signature forgery, the competitor contacts, the attempted file access, the Austin deal discrepancies. Victoria sat through it all with perfect composure. When I finished, she laughed. "This is what happens when founders can't let go," she said to the board. "Robert's been deteriorating for months. Paranoid, obsessive, seeing conspiracies everywhere. I've been trying to help him transition toward retirement, and this is how he responds: by fabricating allegations against me." 3 board members looked at me with something like pity. "The evidence I started can be interpreted many ways," Victoria interrupted. "I've been in contact with other firms because I'm exploring market conditions. I looked at old files because I wanted to understand our company history. The bank thing was clearly an error. Robert, I care about you, but you're not well. The meeting ended inconclusively. The board wanted more information, wanted to wait and see. I walked back to my office feeling older than I'd ever felt. That's when I found her there again. It was past 8 p.m. Everyone else had gone home. I'd stayed late to review documents, to build my case stronger. I came back from the bathroom and saw the light on in my office, saw her silhouette against the window. This time, she wasn't looking at the painting. She was behind my desk, and she had a drill. The painting was off the wall, leaning against the bookshelf. The safe door was visible, and there was a small scratch near the dial where she'd obviously tried something. "What the hell are you doing?" I said from the doorway. Victoria turned, completely calm. The drill hung loose in her hand. "I think it's time we had an honest conversation, Robert." "About breaking into my safe? About what's in it?" She set the drill down on my desk. "I know you've been moving money. I know there's something you're hiding. Company assets, maybe offshore accounts, maybe intellectual property you're planning to take with you. And I think proof of it is in this safe. You're out of your mind." "Am I?" She walked toward me. "You're 64 years old, Robert. You started this company, yes. But I've grown it. I've tripled our revenue. I've brought legitimacy and structure. And yet you hoard secrets, you lock away information, you treat me like an outsider. Well, I'm done being patient. Whatever's in that safe, it belongs to this company, which means it belongs to me too. Get out of my office." "Or what? You'll fire me? You'll call the board?" "Robert, they already think you're losing it. One more paranoid outburst and they'll force you into retirement. Is that what you want?" I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling security." "Go ahead," she said. "Tell them you found your business partner in your office after hours. Tell them she was trying to access a safe that might contain company property. See how that plays. You've been secretive about this safe for 23 years. What are you hiding, Robert? What are you so afraid of people finding?" My hand shook as I held the phone. She was right about one thing. This would look bad for me. The paranoid old founder, so obsessed with secrets that he was accusing his successful partner of theft. "Leave," I said quietly. "Now. We'll discuss this tomorrow." She smiled. "Tomorrow then. But Robert, I'm getting into that safe, one way or another." She walked past me, and I heard her heels clicking down the hallway, heard the elevator ding, heard silence. I stood in my office for a long time, looking at that safe, thinking about everything inside it. Then I called Helen Cross. "I need you to accelerate your investigation," I told her. "And I need you to do something else. I need you to contact the FBI." The fifth and final red flag came 2 days later, delivered by Helen herself. We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the office. Helen slid a folder across the table. "Victoria Crawford isn't who she says she is," Helen began. "Or rather, she is, but there's more to the story. Before she joined your company, she was under investigation by the SEC. Securities fraud. She was VP at Oracle, yes, but she left under pressure. There was an internal investigation into insider trading. Nothing was ever proven publicly, but Oracle paid out a quiet settlement to several shareholders. Why didn't this come up in our background check? Because it was sealed. Settlement included non-disclosure agreements. But I have contacts, and they remember. Victoria has a pattern, Robert. She joins promising companies, gains trust, then positions herself to either take control or extract maximum value before moving on. You're not her first target. You're her third. What happened to the first 2? First one went bankrupt after a suspicious deal with a competitor. The founder lost everything. Second one got acquired under questionable circumstances. The founder retired and signed away most of his shares as part of the deal. Both times, Victoria walked away wealthier and moved on to the next opportunity. I felt cold. She's trying to take my company. Yes. And whatever's in that safe, she thinks it's the key. She thinks you have something hidden that she can use against you. Maybe evidence of financial impropriety. Maybe secret assets she can claim belong to the company. Maybe just leverage to force you out. But she's convinced it's there. And if she doesn't find what she expects, Helen looked at me carefully. Then she'll be very, very angry. Robert, I contacted the FBI like you asked. They're interested. especially if Victoria's in contact with foreign competitors. That could be industrial espionage, but they need evidence. They need to catch her in the act. How? Let her try for the safe again. We'll be ready. I went back to the office and did something I hadn't done in 23 years. I opened the safe. Inside, exactly where I'd left them, were 3 photograph albums. Catherine's albums. Every picture from our 32 years together. Our wedding in 1985. Our honeymoon in Ireland. The house we'd bought in Menlo Park. Catherine's garden. Her book club meetings. Her volunteer work at the library. Her last birthday before the diagnosis. Also inside, a handwritten letter Catherine had written to me 2 weeks before she died. I'd read it exactly once, the day after her funeral. Never again. It was too painful. And finally, 3 journals. Catherine's journals from her last year. Her thoughts, her fears, her hopes, her reflections on our life together. Her goodbye to me. That was it. No money, no company secrets, no offshore accounts, or hidden intellectual property. Just memories of my wife. Just the most precious things I owned. I'd put them in the safe because I couldn't bear to look at them, because seeing them made the grief too real, because this office was where I could escape from the pain, and having them here, locked away, meant they were close but contained, safe, protected. I'd never told anyone, not the board, not my lawyer, not even Marcus. It was too personal, too raw. Even 8 years later, talking about Catherine felt like reopening a wound. But now Victoria thought there were secrets worth stealing. I made a decision. Over the next week, I worked with Helen and her FBI contact, a special agent named Morrison. We set up surveillance in my office. Cameras hidden in the bookshelf, in the ceiling vent, in a modified smoke detector. Audio recording. The works. I also changed the safe combination one last time. Then I did something that hurt more than I expected. I removed Catherine's albums and journals, took them home, locked them in my bedroom closet. In their place, I put a single item, a USB drive. On that drive, every piece of evidence Helen and Marcus had gathered about Victoria, the forged bank signature, the competitor communications, the Austin deal discrepancies, the SEC investigation files Helen had obtained, the IT logs showing her attempts to access encrypted files. Everything. Then I waited. Victoria made her move on a Friday night. I'd made a show of leaving at 6 p.m., complaining loudly about a headache, telling my assistant I'd be working from home for the weekend. In reality, I was in a van 3 blocks away with Helen and Agent Morrison, watching the surveillance feeds. Victoria entered the building at 8:15, used her access card, went straight to the 3rd floor. The cameras caught everything. She was in my office by 8:20. This time she came prepared. A professional safe tech was with her, a guy who looked like he'd cracked a few safes in his time. They went straight to work. "You're sure about this?" the tech asked on the audio feed. "Positive," Victoria said. "He's been hiding company assets. I have a right to know what's in there. You know, this is technically breaking and entering. It's my office, too. My company. Just open it." It took them 40 minutes. The tech was good. I'll give him that. He listened to the tumblers, made minute adjustments, worked with the precision of someone who'd done this many times before. At 9:03, the safe door swung open. Victoria practically shoved the tech aside. She reached in, pulled out the USB drive, stared at it. "That's it?" she said. "A flash drive?" "Maybe that's where he keeps the files," the tech said. Victoria pulled a laptop from her bag, plugged in the drive. I watched her face on camera as she opened the first folder. Then the second. Then the third. Watched her expression change from triumph to confusion to fury. "What is this?" she said. This is all about me. This is an investigation file. She looked up at the camera in the smoke detector, looked straight at it. She knew. "Hello, Victoria," Agent Morrison said, into a microphone. His voice came through the office speakers, part of the security system. "This is Special Agent Morrison, FBI. You're under surveillance. Do not move. Agents are entering the building now." Victoria ran. She grabbed the laptop, left the USB drive, bolted for the door. The tech was right behind her. They made it to the elevator, but building security had already locked it down. They tried the stairs. FBI agents were already there. They caught her on the second-floor landing. Caught both of them. I watched it all on the monitors. Watched Victoria scream about how this was entrapment, how I'd set her up, how the safe had contained company property, and she had every right to access it. Watched the agents read her rights. Watched them take her away in handcuffs. The tech gave up Victoria immediately. Testified that she'd hired him specifically to crack my safe, that she'd paid him $5,000 cash up front with another $5,000 promised after, that she'd told him there were company secrets inside worth millions. The FBI investigation into Victoria took 3 months. In that time, they uncovered everything. The SEC investigation, the 2 previous companies she'd targeted, the communications with our German competitor, where she'd been offering to sell proprietary information for 2 million euros, the forged bank documents, the attempted theft of intellectual property. She'd been planning to force me out, take control of the company, then sell it to the German firm for a massive premium. The safe was supposed to be the final piece, the leverage she needed to discredit me completely. Instead, she found evidence of her own crimes. Victoria Crawford is currently serving 7 years in federal prison for corporate espionage, fraud, and attempted theft of trade secrets. The safe tech got 2 years for his cooperation. The board apologized to me, some of them, anyway. The others quietly resigned. Marcus Webb is now my official partner, owns 30% of the company. He's earned it. And the safe? I keep it locked. Still don't let anyone open it. But now it's back to its original purpose. Inside are Catherine's albums, her journals, her letter. I move them back the day after Victoria's arrest. Sometimes, late at night when the office is empty, I open it. I look through the photos. I read a page or two from the journals. I remember what really matters. That safe was never about hiding company secrets or protecting assets. It was about protecting something infinitely more valuable. My memories. My grief, my love for a woman who'd been gone 8 years but still felt present in every quiet moment. Victoria saw a locked door and assumed there must be treasure behind it, assumed that anything protected so carefully must be worth stealing. She never understood that some things are locked away not because they're valuable to anyone else, but because they're irreplaceable to us. That's the lesson I learned from all of this. The real treasures in life aren't the ones that can be sold or stolen. They're the ones that can only be held in memory, protected in our hearts, and honored through how we live. I'm 67 now. The company's doing well. Marcus runs most of the day-to-day operations. I come in 3 days a week, mentor the younger developers, attend the important meetings. I finally took that vacation. 2 weeks in Ireland, visiting the places Catherine and I had seen on our honeymoon. The safe is still here, still locked, still protecting what matters most. And I've never been more certain that some doors should stay closed. Not because we have something to hide, but because we have something too precious to expose to people who wouldn't understand its value anyway. Victoria's in prison, but I don't feel victorious. I feel sad. Sad that she lived her whole life thinking value could only be measured in dollars. Sad that she looked at a locked safe and saw opportunity instead of respect. Sad that she never learned what Catherine taught me over 32 years together. The most valuable things in life are the ones that can't be bought, sold, or stolen. They can only be given, shared, and remembered. That's what was in the safe all along. That's what's still there now. And that's why it stays locked.